Hi and welcome to Our Flash, the weekly series where we take a look at the news in the World of Warcraft in the last week. So, as we get closer to that Legion pre-patch, of course, more news been coming out. We can now start downloading the data for that patch, a 20 gigabyte monstrosity. I'm not worrying too much about it at the moment. On my primary drive, of course, I've got the beta there as well. It's actually using quite a lot of room. I'm getting quite close to it. So I'm probably going to leave it until at least they tell us when it's going to be. Now, it was theorised at one time that the pre-patch would come out on the 19th of July, based on a leak. But of course, how do you tell the difference between a leak and a rumour? It's very, very difficult until it's confirmed. And well, if it was going to be the 19th, we'd have expected to hear about it this week, and we haven't done. Now, I was under the impression that... Sorry, if you can hear a dog in the background, I'm not sure whether you can or not. Sorry, it seems to do it. It's not my dog. But yeah, I was under the impression in previous situations when the pre-patch was about to go live, they give you 2 weeks' notice. Well, and other people have said the same thing. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sort of doing that from memory. I'm not sure whether that has always been a thing, but I'm pretty sure they've always given us 2 weeks' notice. I don't think they would say, oh, by the way, the pre-patch is coming out in a few days, because there's certain things you can't do once the pre-patch goes live. So they need to give you a reasonable amount of time so that you can properly plan for it. So it's not going to come out on the 19th by the looks of it. It may come out a week later. We may find out next week that it's coming out on, say, the 26th. They can't leave it too much longer after all. Now, I've been considering transmogs for my Demon Hunter at the moment. I've been sort of copying some of my leatherworking characters across and just trying out a few transmogs for the Demon Hunter. Not sure which one to go for yet. I'm leaning more towards this one at the moment. Another little bit of news, bit of drama. I like a bit of drama. The Demon Bounties fallout. I'm not going to talk too much about this because it's a bit silly, really. But there's a lot of people a bit annoyed at Blizzard for sort of thinking this was some new content, calling it a Demon Bounties event. And I think from Blizzard's point of view, it was just a cock-up. They didn't really... I don't think there was anything intentionally misleading about it. It was just another... It was just PR dropping another bollock again, basically, wasn't it? Because, I mean, when I first heard it, like Demon Bounties, it sort of evokes Star Wars The Old Republic, doesn't it? Where you have like bounty events in that, where you go out in the world, you do some little event, there's rewards for it, stuff like that. It sounded like the same sort of thing. Of course it wasn't. Now, I didn't think it was that sort of thing because I don't think they're going to spring any new content on us. There is actually a reasonable amount of pre-Legion content coming out. There's no need for them to spring one on us. It's not like someone's asked for it or anything like that. At the same time, I can also understand people being annoyed with Blizzard because it's a bit like going around to someone's house, isn't it? Just to watch the telly or just have a chat, something like that. And they offer you a biscuit, say, would you like a biscuit? It's like, well, I wasn't expecting a biscuit, but yes, now you're offering, I would like a biscuit, thanks very much. And they go on. And then they come back and say, sorry, I've eaten them all. It's like, well, I wasn't that bothered about it, but you offered me one and now I don't have a biscuit. It's a bit annoying, really. And I think it's a bit like that. People weren't expecting new content, but when you phrase it like that, it does give the impression it is. Whereas in actual fact, it was just another way for streamers to make some more viewers and give away some beta keys. But there you go. Now, there's been some Q&As. There was another Q&A, there's been weekly Q&As, and it was the turn of artifacts and order halls this week. Not a great deal of new stuff. Maybe I would describe the stuff that came out of the Q&A as like insights into what they're doing. There's not really a lot of like new information from it. The term class fantasy was used more times than I am happy with. Now, they've said artifact skins will be usable in the next expansion. This, to me, is pretty much as close as we're going to get to confirmation that we're not having artifacts next expansion. Wasn't expecting them. There was something, again, leaked. I don't like using that expression. I won't use it again. Which was supposed to tell us what's going to happen throughout the expansion. And again, it doesn't matter how reliable the source allegedly is. If it's until it's confirmed, I just treat it as a rumour. But that was suggesting that we certainly would give up our artifacts at the end of Legion. This pretty much seems to be just confirming it. Yeah, you're not going to have your artifacts, because they're talking about the fact that we will still be able to use those artifact skins in some sort of transmog type system. Details sketchy on that one. But it does mean that you will be, when you're unlocking them, it's not something that's only going to be used in Legion. We still will be able to carry it forward. They did say that they're not sure about this, but they will probably stop them being obtainable after Legion. So in other words, we can only unlock those skins during Legion. We won't be able to do it once the next expansion is out, but we will still be able to use them cosmetically. They've talked about artifact knowledge, the idea behind that. I think it's fairly obvious what the idea is. It is a way of allowing people who don't play the game very much, might only play a few hours a week, to sort of catch up. Because the idea of artifact knowledge, for those that don't know, is you research it in your order hole, you spend order resources on it, and it gives you different ranks, and you keep putting this, like it's like a work order in, and you get higher and higher artifact knowledge ranks. And what this does is it increases the amount of artifact power you get when you get an artifact power item. But when you can get these levels, these artifact level knowledge levels, it's sort of time gated more than resource gated. It doesn't cost that many order resources, so it's more of a time thing. You have to wait so many days before you can do it. So it's a way of those who just play all the time can only go so far, and those who don't play quite so much, as they're going through, most of their artifact power is going to be sort of increased by the extra amount. It's a bit of a catch-up mechanic. What else was there? They've said that it's going to take the same amount of effort to maintain an alt spec, as in an alternative spec on your main, bloody dogs, as in previous expansions. Not really buying that, because the only thing that's needed, or has been needed, to maintain your other specs is getting gear. Well, in Legion, you're going to have to still get gear, because, okay, yeah, we're now in a situation where, let's say, I get a plate helm, if I go to holy spec, the strength will turn to intellect. We're sort of used to that anyway now, but it doesn't mean to say it's going to have the best secondary stats. So I still, if I wanted to heal, or if anyone was silly enough to ask me to heal, would still need to collect a healing set and then a tanking set if anyone is even dafter and completely loses their marbles and asks me to tank. Whereas in Legion we still have to do that, and at the same time we also have to make sure that we're getting artifact power for our off-spec artifacts. So in no way, shape or form is it just as easy to maintain. It's a damn sight harder to maintain. I am going to shut this door. Right, so, okay, where was I? Oh, yeah, about maintaining the spec, yeah. Even with catch-up mechanics, because the argument goes that by the time we're putting artifact power into our alternative artifacts, our off-spec artifacts, that we'll have more artifact knowledge, so it'll take us less time, but it's still a time that is greater than 0, which has not been the case in previous expansions. But anyway, whatever. The other thing is artifact knowledge is not going to be account-wide. We've sort of known that from playing the beta. I think it's a shame. I do think it's a shame that artifact knowledge is not, because they've said before as well that Legion is going to be the most alt-friendly expansion. Bullshit. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. One way they could have helped, and I'm not going to, part of the reason it's not at all good, in fact it's going to be the most unfriendly, is actually because there's so much content to do. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But I still feel they should help out where they can. And making artifact knowledge account-wide would be one of those ways. They've touched on the notion of tweaking artifact traits throughout the expansion, in the same way that they tweak our abilities for a balancing point of view. They've said that they don't anticipate it tweaking it to the point where we'd ever get a free respec on it. And of course, after a certain amount of time, you won't need to respec anyway, because you'll just have every trait unlocked. But yeah, just something to throw out there. Now they've also, again, this is another sort of reason thing. It's not new information. When BlizzCon came out and they were talking quite excitedly about the different ways there are to get to your order hall, because you had like when I first got into Alpha, you had a teleport that had quite a short cooldown that would just automatically teleport you to your order hall. And different people had a lot of different ways of doing this, like the hunter with the eagle grabbing hold of you. Didn't look very comfortable anyway, and taking you there and all the rest of it. And Death Knights, of course, still have their death gate. And then that was removed, and instead what they did is they put portals in Dalaran. Apart from rogues, of course, where their class order hall is in Dalaran. And the reasoning, they've come out with the reasoning for this, because I was a bit curious about this. And their reasoning is that initially they expected us to be using the order halls more frequently, and then now found that's not the case. What I suspect they mean by that is, obviously they will have been developing order halls before garrisons became like the least popular thing ever in WoW, or as some people would have it, because they were developed in parallel. Warlords of Draenor was developed in parallel with Legion, so there was a lot of the initial stuff done for Legion that was done before Warlords of Draenor came out. And this was presumably one of them. They just thought garrisons were going to be really popular, order halls were going to be the next step. Then everyone kicked off about garrisons, and they thought, oh my god. So they've obviously reined back a lot of the things about order halls, and then, as they've noted there, once they got to the point where there's no good reason to go to your order hall very often, they've taken away those portals, and that's fair enough. They've said that they want Dalaran to be the main hub. I actually think it would have been anyway, I have to say, because if you're going to AFK anywhere, it doesn't make sense to AFK in your order hall because there's nothing to do. Whereas in Dalaran, really good idea, they have little random events, you know, like the treasure demon popping up and things like that. So there is a good reason, if you're going to hang around anywhere, to hang around in Dalaran anyway, even if you could port to your order hall. So I don't think there was any need for that. At the same time, I totally understand why they've done that. They've said you won't be able to inspect people and see their artifact unlock progress. I think the implication there is they are aware of situations whereby, you know, people call pugs and they're doing pugs. They put lots of like restrictions on it, which is fine. If you're going to do your own group, you can do what you like. But a lot of it is sometimes seems a bit silly to people. You always get a lot of complaints. So I think what they're doing is sort of helping people out here by sort of partially preventing pug leaders from putting like expectations of certain artifact unlock progress on the group, because they won't be able to inspect someone and find it out. I don't know whether that means you won't be able to see it on the armory either. I think you probably would be able to see it on the armory, so someone could easily just look you up on there. So I'm not. I think this is for the lazy raid pug leader, but that's what they've said, and that seems to be the reason for that, and that's absolutely fine. So that is pretty much in a nutshell the most of the news. I mean, we had an event yesterday on the beta, not a special event. They disabled all characters that were like level 101 plus, because they only wanted level 100 characters, because they wanted everyone to test the Legion launch stuff. It was basically stress testing. But there's nothing particularly notable about that one. Lots and lots of lag, as you'd expect in a stress test. So yeah, presumably working on that to make sure that it won't lag quite so much, if at all, when it actually does go live. It is one of these expansions where we're all going to the same place. We're all going to go into this like scenario, which of course instanced, and we're all going to then go outside Orgrimmar or into Stormwind, depending on whether you're Horde or Alliance, to do again a set event. And there's going to be lots of people all doing this at the same time, and then we're all going to go to like other place, Dalaran initially, and then, you know, blah 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 blah. By the time we're going into the Broken Isles proper, of course, we're spread out across the different zones because we don't have to do it in a particular order. But up until that point, we're all sort of doing the same thing and in the same places. So yeah, I think they're probably going to need to do more of these to be completely confident that there's not going to be the most horrendous launch. In terms of what's coming up on my channel now, I've just brought out his guides. It's going to be like Ret Week. I've just brought out the Havoc Demon Hunter guide for pre-patch only, so relatively short one compared to the ones that I'll produce for when Legion actually goes live, which will be next month. So what I'm working on at the moment, what's sort of nearly done, is first of all, there's going to be a rep tuning video based on the new build that we've had in PTR and beta this week, because there have been a few changes. But also there's going to be the actual parts 2 and 3 rec guides for the pre-patch coming out. They should be coming out tomorrow. In fact, they will be coming out tomorrow. There's going to be, it's time for another Archives of Warcraft. That's going to be on Deadmines and Westfall this time. That'll be out in the next few days. It may not. I try to get those out on weekends, but at the moment, so much stuff. And even though I'm now off work, I was so busy in the last couple of weeks at work that everything sort of got funneled up and stored up. So I need to get loads. There's loads of videos I just need to get done now. So that will come out like in the next few days. It may be like Monday or something, but hopefully Sunday if I can. Of course, there's a lot of sport going on this weekend as well. We've got the British Grand Prix. We've got like Wimbledon finals. Women's on Saturday, men's on Sunday. We've got the Euros finals at the weekend as well. And it's not like I can just sit in front of there typing like scripts and things like that, because that's sort of done. I just need to get these things done, put them together. And you can still vote for the Legion features countdown video, the like top 10 stroke 5, depending on like the response. I think this is going to be a top 10 one. Link in the comments below if you still want to vote on that one. That vote can still go up until, I forget what date I've put. It tells you on the poll anyway. There's still just over another week to go on that, I think. And I think that's about it. So I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and check out playlists for other videos if you're new to the channel. And until next time, I'll see you later.